Hey, how's it going? Please take a look at my signs. Can you even see that? Well, anyway, this is take 2. And I'm doing a Spirit TV Critic review on The Rookie Season 1. I'm a little deflated because I was very happy with what I had going before that I just totally screwed up and hit the wrong button trying to pause. So, let me try it again. I have this thing about when you join like a law enforcement agency like a police force, or become a military personnel and you go through basic training. In both cases, what they do, your new employers, is they break down your personality. They destroy your you so that they can erase that completely and make you a blank slate and then form you into their you. And so I don't like that, because what they then turn you into is someone that can no longer relate to people, A, at all, and B, to the people they used to be able to relate to just fine before taking on this job. And that is because, I understand it. It's because of the element that they have to work in. And, like, as I was watching the show today, The Rookie, the recruits were going through the whole thing is about their learning how to be a full cop, like not a junior. Like, you fully graduate to entire copdom and you're not a rookie anymore. But let me just I'm thinking of what I was saying before, which is now confusing me. But I had been thinking that when they do that, when they erase who you were in order to replace that with what they would like you to be, what they will form you into, what they will groom you to be, with the police, what I saw was the main character, which is played by Nathan Fillion. He's a lot older than the other recruits, and so he has life experience. But he's also just a really nice guy. Like, the character is a nice person, which is out of character for police, especially after they, like, put you through their filters, And so Nolan, Officer Nolan, is doing something in the station, and there's a prisoner being brought in by some detectives or whatever, and he exchanges a few, like, just words in passing, as you would if you were just a regular person, and they said, like, whatever, like, hi or something, and went by, and you're just like, hey, how's it going? Like, that's pretty much the extent of it. But even that is, like, a no-no if you're a cop. Like, you can't be even just nice to people, because, as the training officer explained, you have to assume everybody is a criminal, which means you are not normal with people anymore. Like, you don't treat people like that. Regular, like, normally, you don't treat all of your friends like they did something wrong, like an arrestable offense. People just don't behave that way normally. But this isn't normal, what they do to people. So, let me just caveat here that I understand that you are entering these atmospheres that are abnormal, and they are violent and unpredictable. Like, if you're a soldier, if you're, like, some new military personnel, you're not going to necessarily be dropped off where there's fighting, but that's what you're gonna learn how to do, and that you're gonna learn how to behave in those situations, because in the army especially, like a good portion of it, if you're not actually there, you're training to be there, which is on the front is what I'm saying, where the fighting is happening. So your whole mindset about people kind of has to change in in order for you to go in there and be efficient at what you need to do, which is basically kill, maim, and destroy. Sorry, I don't like it either. So, that offends my sense of humanity, I think. The heck was that? Oh, it's a hole. Never mind. So, I'm watching that and I'm thinking, and I've already had this thought, like before I started watching the show, like I already felt this way. I don't like that breaking down of people because it's too Majestic 12. And they seriously messed with those people, and I don't even know if that has stopped. I don't think it has at all. I think that the more and better that scientists belonging to whomever or wherever are just continually going down that rabbit hole to learn how to control people. It's just too much there are too many schemes that it could be worked in, like to have a controllable automaton mole, you know. So I just am not a fan of the way we use each other for stuff. And watching the show, it's not really that different from life. Like, we often have to do these processes to ourselves, like where we have to make a change, otherwise we just can't anymore. Like, we can't tolerate further whatever type of pain it's causing us, and it's kind of, you change it or bad things happen to you, you know. But the other thing about it too, like on this show, they do that to these people, so they've taken away their operating system, basically. Like, you can't like have compassion and be as humane as you once were or would like to be, because that's going to work against you with the people that you're going to come up against in police work, that are the criminals that are dishonest. And when does the lying stop? When you're right in front of a cop and you're very possibly busted and possibly looking at jail time. Like, they're not going to want to be telling you truth. They're going to be trying to do whatever they can to get out of it, especially on a TV show, because that's entertaining. That's what keeps you in front of the screen. It's exciting. So, but the thing is especially seeing it played out on this show, it's really freaking me out that they kind of erase everything, including their like self-defense system, which maybe wasn't great because they weren't in that career before now. But so they have to learn it, and there's probably no other way than to stick you out in the middle of it. Like, I don't know how many training simulations that can mimic a real life unpredictable situation. So I guess that's the only way to go. So you turn them from a potentially nice person into a brutal and suspicious and mean person, and this will even extend to my feeling, which is very similar, about the way the military remakes people. I don't like it, and I feel like, my God, there's got to be a better way. Obviously, in some situations where there's like bombs and things, talk therapy is not the way to go. But maybe it is the way to go to prevent getting to the bombs dropping in things, which would be good for everybody and everything except for the people looking to make a profit. But they need to knock that shit off because it's decimating the world. And, you know, it's not just the munitions blowing things up. People are blowing up systems with their ideologies, and a lot of them involve, like, on a mass scale, forcing people to do things because that is the way that the person in authority wants things done, or group in authority. And that also is a problem for me, is like the people in authority thing. We don't seem to be able to do that very well without imposing our own stuff into the situation. Like, oh, you feeling powerful now, so you just think that you're better than people? Like, you elevate yourself beyond other people when that might just be a figment of your mind. Like, there's a time and a place for a figure of authority. Like, someone needs to impose order into systems that are already there, not on individual people because they feel like it or because they personally find fault with something about the person. And like, I don't have the answer to how to sort of rule and govern with authority without it being, you know, negative. But I feel like we just haven't really looked into other ways of policing ourselves that don't involve fear, coercion, you know, strong-arming people, and whatever types of other advantages that are just not good. They're bad acts. They're crimes, like, against people that feel like they have to do it because this person in authority is telling them to. And if they don't, the person in authority has power to, you know, imprison them, basically, or prevent them from having free movement in their life. And if you're not a criminal, then that's wrong. Like, they should not be doing that to you. And that is what I kind of have a problem with authority figures. But I don't know how to fix that either. How to find the people that can kind of control themselves and be happy to be a part of making things happen smoothly over making things happen to their satisfaction because they feel like now they can boss people around, essentially, because they're in that position of authority. Boy, I would like to see that broken down and reconstructed into something that kind of works better for everyone's soul, so you're not, like, you know, destroying other people's souls to accomplish something that it's that means to an end thing where you take the shortcuts and that kind of fucks everything all up. Like, we should probably avoid that. Hold on. I kind of think, in a way, that's like the point of Nathan Fillion's character in the show. And I turned off the camera before because I accidentally went to pause it while I went looking for something. Because it turns out in the show, Nathan Fillion, who was in Firefly, and then the succeeding show, or not succeeding, the show that came after that was about the same people, like the same characters, but it had a different name. One of his co-stars from Firefly is also in the show, so let me hit the right button this time and pause it while I look that up because I forgot to write it down. Well, isn't that interesting? I'm completely wrong. The person that I'm thinking of was not in Firefly, so scratch that. Scratch all of that Firefly stuff, except Nathan Fillion was in it, and he was the captain of the ship. Captain Malcolm or Mal Reynolds. And then everybody else in the cast kind of doesn't matter, so skip that. But back to Nolan, Fillion's character, the main character of the show. He is significantly older than the other recruits, around 15 years maybe, and maybe more. And what he's got going for him that also works against him, even though he's been through like the sort of breaking training, or he is going through it as a rookie, and it's kind of working against him that he's a nice guy. They kind of can't break him of it. Like I said, he started like talking to the prisoner like they were like a normal person, which they are. But when you're in a police station talking to a prisoner, I wouldn't be so sure they're going to be 100% truthful. They might be pretty opportunistic and looking for any kind of loophole or hook or any kind of way they can like make it easier for themselves, make themselves look better, make an easier way to escape the situation, take advantage is what I'm saying. So, and that's a good reason to want to break your friendly, nice recruit of that habit. But I think that it might not be a flaw. I think maybe it's not his mindset that needed to change or needs to change if it's someone else like him in a situation where they're a law enforcement officer or a military personnel. And especially with the military, you like, well, actually, I was going to say with the military, like, you know when you go in that you're going to be going to a place where war is happening, but that's not always true. You might be placed somewhere where it's just not happening at all, and you're just not needed in that area, because they move people around like game tokens. But when you are dropped into the war situation, you've been trained for it and you know what to expect. And you can't be being nice, because those people are also opportunistic and trying to find a way out too. Like, nobody's trying to tell you the truth if it's not going to benefit them, I guess. It's not like a great place to find yourself. And so I realize that it sounds kooky, me sitting here saying, well, we got to find a better way to do it. But I think there is a better, less harmful way to rule and be an authority. And I hope more quickly find the people that want to take advantage of the situation, and then by extension people, you know, because that's never good. But the thing about Nolan is it's a situation which we have a lot of in life, where it's going to take more than one person in one situation in one place for it to change. Like, it takes a bunch of people following the one person and accumulating in large numbers for differences to happen. But you do have to start somewhere. So Nolan in the show, he's learning to be hard. He's learning to be suspicious. He's learning. I haven't seen him do it yet where he's suspicious first, but he's starting to learn. He's starting to understand the gravity of the situations, because I'm sure this is a true thing on this fictional show when it comes to police matters. The situations can be very dynamic and change so quickly in ways that are unexpected, because you just don't know what you're walking into most times. And that makes it exciting, and it's good for the show. But it makes me wonder, with this guy in there, he's already like a misfit in the group, and everybody roasts him for being so old, but he is also has that wisdom of a little bit of age, like some rings on his trunk, that advise him in the situations. And so the force is working against him. Everybody in life is working against him because the criminals are going to crim, and people are the way they are. Like, for example, roasting the man for making a change in his life at a late stage. And it's like, why is that something to roast someone over? We're such assholes. And so that kind of thing, that's what we need to be like breaking ourselves of. We need to like understand each other better and have more tolerance for what we're all capable of. I don't have the solution. I just feel like there's got to be a better way in so many situations. But I feel like I'm still on the first season of this. It seems like the influence of Nolan is going to start changing the force, but we'll see. I stopped it before I started this because season 2 was starting, and I was like, oh, don't be adding new people, because they already added new people toward the end, and it's like, I didn't even have them on the names I wrote down, so I'm not going to talk about that yet. Don't want to get ahead of myself. The thing about okay, so I keep almost interrupting myself. So they got Nolan on the force. He's got influence and change minds. And in fact, I think I was even seeing some of that. Not too much, but because I don't think it can be like a drastic change in the show or in real life either. Like I said, one person cannot just jump in and start doing stuff different. And I don't think that's going to make a whole system start changing itself. I think it's like small chain reactions happening, simultaneously, like in numbers, and that's when changes start to happen. I'm guessing. I'm just dreaming this up. I don't know, but it sounds good. But here's the other thing, though. Great if it can change like attitudes and perspectives on the show, and improve the quality of the police work in communities, even if it's just people looking at the show and being inspired and then taking that inspiration back into the community and into their work if they're a law enforcement officer or something of that sort. Great, that's good, because ultimately it's the real life that matters more than the show. Like when we can start introducing stuff that we're seeing on television, however it gets into our brains, if we can start introducing it into our actual lives to make our actual lives better, I think that's a great thing. This is just a show sort of enhanced things I was already thinking about along these lines, but I want to share the cast. I have the technology to show you pictures and photographs, but I didn't bother learning it, so here it isn't. Here it is not. But I'm going to read you the cast. Some of the names you will know. You can, if you don't know who they are, and this won't be hard, you can go online and look up the cast of The Rookie. Hey, whoa. And you may have seen it when it was on, because I don't think it's on anymore. I think it ended like last year or 2 years ago, or more. I don't know. Like I just started watching it for the first time yesterday. I just knew it was out there because I know Nathan Fillion and I saw commercials, but I didn't bother watching it until this past week. So there you go. But anyway, so yes, Nathan Fillion is the lead, and the rest of the cast I'm just going to read. So Melissa O'Neill, Afton Williamson, that's a woman, Richard T. Jones, Eric Winter, Currie Graham, Titus Macon, Jr., Sean Ashmore, Mercedes Mason, Alyssa Diaz, Sarah Shaw. Sarah Shaw was in Person of Interest. She was the woman. The woman on the team with the dark hair. Yeah. So, I'm not really talking much about that show. Well, the show is, pretty decent formulaic, which actually was why I started watching it. I like the routine of an episodic show. I love that you can just finish an episode and come back and sort of pick up where you left off. And I like it when there's more than one, two, or three seasons. My gosh, that's frustrating. So I have, like I said, I just am about to start season 2. I'm looking forward to that. But it may not be like the most critically acclaimed thing to look at, or the most highbrow, or most awarded. I don't even know what it has. Like, I don't know how well it did or not. It had 7 seasons, so I guess it did pretty well. And I'm enjoying it. And that's sometimes all I want, is something like Law and Order, or even like FBI. I just started watching. And by the way, can I just interject that all of those shows I mentioned, these police procedurals, they all have like police consultants. Just like any show with a military show or movie with a military aspect, there's going to be consultants and advisors on hand from those branches to make sure the propaganda doesn't get propped up the wrong way. They got to come out of it looking good. But that's what these shows do, basically, is they fluff up the images of these agencies, because we need them, for sure, because we got people that can't be controlled with just a worded persuasion from a random person. There's some people who get more violent than your average person can handle, or you just need a bunch of other people that are sort of the same way to respond in kind. But it doesn't have to all be that way, But yeah, those shows all, like Dick Wolf did like the Law and Order shows, and the FBI shows are also his. And I don't know if you noticed, but like the content on like SVU, for example, or just plain original Law and Order, can be pretty dark, but the actual violence that you see is kept to a minimum. But when you look at those FBI shows, I understand that that's several steps up in law enforcementness. And it does the stuff that I'm always yelling at the screen for whatever kind of show or movie I'm looking at, where it's just like there's this terrible person that everyone's dealing with, or criminals, and they shoot him in the shoulder blade or whatever, in the collarbone, and then they die. And it's like, what of what? The broken collarbone? I know there's arteries and things in there, but there's a lot of area where you can shoot, like all through. You can't see. I will show you. All through, like, this area, you could get shot here, which often they do. And, it's easy to miss some major arteries. Like, you're not necessarily going to bleed out in a minute or two. Like, but they make it look that way. Some of those things, man, if you lay on a pillow and wad up something else, like, it's not necessarily a fatal wound, is what I'm getting at. And that kind of messes with the show for me, because then I'm like, now that's not, then I'll start like picking it apart. I don't want to do that. What was I talking about? But yeah, so on the FBI shows, though, what I'm always saying is, if they're so bad and you really want to get them, shoot them in the head. And like, that's my thing. Nobody kicks people in the balls, and nobody shoots people in the face until FBI, and then kind of all of that happens. So it's kind of satisfying in a way, but then I'm like, wait, that's not really good either, though, is it? We're all conditioned. We are conditioned to find certain things okay. And I guess that, I mean, police violence seems pretty gnarly to me, and I'm no longer referring to police on civilian violence. I'm talking about police on criminal violence with gunfire and, people needing hospitalization or burial, stuff like that, like heavy stuff. But the FBI that you don't see on the shows where the police are like, you definitely, like on the news, police will shoot civilians to death. You've heard of it over and over and over. So we know it happens. But on the shows that we watch, that goes down very differently than it does in reality. And I don't know that in reality police are doing headshots. I imagine it happens sometimes, but on FBI, man, they do it a lot. It's like watching a video game. It's kind of like, yeah, it's about time, but I don't know if that's really the right attitude. I don't know if that's a good attitude to have about it. I don't know that it's good that I like it, but I feel like, yeah. But remember, there is a script built up around it to also heighten your emotions and more MK12 stuff. Like I said this in the other video that I screwed up and shut off, but that breaking you down and destroying your personality and removing your id so that your you is gone. You are blank, and so you find yourself in these situations, like as a rookie cop, for instance, on this show. And here's a sync that happened while I was watching it. I was thinking that when they do that to you and they remake you in these basic training sort of situations where they remove your pre-existing personality because it's really not appropriate for the job, then you're stuck with until your new personality is replaced and installed. You don't know how to act. And I swear I'm having that thought, and they're on the show talking about the recruits and saying they don't know how to act when you take away their personality. I didn't know that was coming. I love it when that happens. It was so fun. Anyway, that's the case though. Like, what was portrayed was these recruits, these new cops, being put out to train in the only possible way they really can for this type of job, blank, and then they have to be taught, remolded, groomed to be these violent, suspicious police officers to deal with the other people. But that makes them isolated from the rest of society, because then they feel like the only people they can trust are other cops, and then everybody else is a criminal that can't be trusted, regardless of it's like your mom who you've known all your life. All of a sudden, mom is suspect. That's terrible. There's got to be a better way. There has to be a better way to do this. Trying to check my time. So, did I already say this? So I'm just going to revisit it quickly because I'm going to wrap it up here. The Nolan character, I think it was telling me that there are better ways to deal with these situations than we normally would, where we kind of have been equipped to, with not very many alternatives to deal with certain situations. And so they stick this character in there that's got something to teach everybody, because immediately he goes in, everybody's roasting. he it's part of the recruitment process to go through the roasting. But if you're 15 years older than all the rest of the recruits, which is what the roasting was about, like, you're older than dirt, and here's this guy, he's just nice. Like, okay, haha, I get it, but it is funny. I get, like, he just doesn't get mad, and it's kind of like an education for the viewer, and also for the people, like, in the cast, in, like, the universe of the cast in that those people's real life, he's like kind of a revelation, because you can do things without being an impolite jerk all of the time. Can you believe it? The figures, the authority figures, man, it's that power drunkenness where they just forget, like, it's just not always called for you to be an idiot to people. You know, I know, like, I think I touched upon this a little bit too, like, it's probably hard not to become somewhat power crazy, like, if you didn't have it before and then you start experiencing it, it must be enticing, because so many people seem to get caught up in it. And I don't know how that gets fixed. I don't know how to incorporate nice and compassionate back into people that have to be soldiers and police, but I think it's time to start thinking about it. I think we're all ready for a change of that nature. And oh boy, do we have work ahead of us on that. Because not everyone's going to agree. Yay! Some of us are still going to want to treat each other like utter poo. And I'm not a fan, so I'm just going to keep on talking my crazy talk. Okay, that's about all I want to say about The Rookie, starring Nathan Fillion, who I don't know if you could tell, but I really like that guy as an actor. Thank you and good night.